Hey, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about demonology and about some of the specs and stuff that you can use for it. And I don't want to do a full video. I just want to kind of talk about a basic spec and then show you a typical game using this spec. This spec I consider to be mid-tier, really, compared to affliction. Affliction is literally the king in BGs. And if you think about warlocks and how they have to play, they really have to, the longer the fight goes on, the warlock typically does better. Warlocks do really well in group fights because they're able to apply lots of damage to lots of targets. And that's why in like arena they're a little bit lower tier, because there's only like 2 opponents typically, and so they can't dot up everything. And in 3s they're maybe a little bit better, but definitely in BGs this is where warlocks as a class excel. And that's why maybe melee is a little bit better in arenas. It's just the design of the game. But I'm going to show you a demonology spec. It's not the greatest spec, and the reason why demonology just isn't as good anymore is because it's just been nerfed ever since the launch in Legion. Originally in the launch of Legions, demonology was the strongest class because of the way their talents were set up. You could actually use Demon Skin plus Doom Pact, so you could have just massive defenses, and also Doom wasn't nerfed, so Doom would do legitimately good damage. And the problem is demonology has just been so nerfed repeatedly over and over again. It doesn't do nearly enough damage as affliction, and for whatever reason Blizzard wants affliction to be strong right at this time, and I just think a lot of the developmental energy is going towards the new expansion. So I think that sort of demonology is probably going to be dead until maybe a rework in the Battle for Azeroth, which will be the new expansion coming out. We're going to focus on an interesting spec I saw another warlock use. This is more about doing shadow damage to people, so it's about doing large doom ticks, large Cthulhu's consumption, and with the cool demon bolt animation. And I'm just going to briefly explain it to you. This is the talents. We're going to use Hand of Doom. We're going to use Impending Doom because it's just better. But you could use Improved Dreadstalkers. Implosion's just been nerfed too much to make it really viable. So that's the problem with Implosion, is it just doesn't do any damage. It used to do really good damage. Of course, like I just said, a lot of things have been nerfed, and that was one of them. Dark Glare is awesome. Pet to use, especially with Hand of Doom. You figured like, oh, that's our combo. But we kind of want to use Demon Bolt just as a kind of a cool thing, as a cool ability. We could. Demon Bolt is okay, but Dark Glare is pretty cool too. And Dark Glare is actually not too bad if you think about it. It's has a 50% uptime because it has a 12-second uptime plus 24-second cooldown, and it synergizes well with Hand of Doom. So if you don't want to play Demon Bolt, you could play Dark Glare. There's not a problem with that. But as soon as you start playing more like Dark Glare, like pet stuff, then it's okay. I want to use Shadowy Inspiration because I power trip a lot, and I want to shoot out an instant. Again, I want to shoot out an instant Demon Bolt. Here's my honor talents. Are pretty much the same. I'm going to use Mind Quickness for demonology because I want the haste when I'm channeling stuff. It just makes it easier. And I'm going to use Pleasure Through Pain. Pleasure Through Pain is awesome because, again, it helps us out with our Shadow Bolt spec. But the main reason why we want to use it is to increase our shadow damage by 15%. Now, the main reasons, another big reason why demonology is just bad is you have the Call Fell Lord. This has been nerfed. It was nerfed, I guess, at 7.1.5. This is after all the nerfs happened, so I think I kind of just, that's when I kind of slipped out of the game a little bit. But what happened was this used to be at 30 seconds. So you used to put a Fell Lord down, and it's a good skill, but the problem is now it's only 15 seconds. So instead of getting like 5 or 6 swipes for 1,000,000 damage that does high damage plus a stun, so it's really anti-melee, it only does 1.5, 15 seconds now, so it's not very good. The Call Observer is okay, but I think it used to do 10% damage. So if anybody cast a spell, it did serious damage to them. The nice thing about the Observer, so the Fell Lord is just junk, okay? you can't use it. The Observer is really good. It used to be better. The problem is now is it only goes right over you. You can't target it from what I understand anymore. Like whenever you cast a spell, it used to give you an area to cast over. That only spawns directly over the Warlock. So the Warlock has to run, a highly immobile class has to run to a point. It only gives a 20-yard radius, which is quite a small radius to do. So you can't like, yes, you used to have a 40-yard range. So again, another massive nerf. So the Fellord shouldn't even be a talent, in my opinion, because it's just so bad. It's been so nerfed that it shouldn't exist. And I guess they probably nerfed it because melee were getting crapped on because they didn't know how to step out of it. The problem is the Fellord is not that great. I played Demonology in Arena, and Demonology is cool and fun, but it's a way. The only thing is it's a way to buffer off melee damage. So again, it was an active defense. Remember, we lost Doom Pact as well. The Observer is bad because you have to move to things, and again, people can move out of these ranges. So instead of these two, which have been nerfed, we use Master Summoner, which is okay. It's actually pretty cool. It's convenient. So again, this spec is about getting pets out because with Doombolt, if we read it, it says draws energy from your demons and launches a ball of demonic energy. It increases the damage. It increases 10% by each demon you have. So it does good. Like Doom will still tick for like 800,000, but if you think about how Doom works, you know, it takes up to 15 seconds for it to proc. That's another problem with Demonology is a lot of other classes, like say Fury Warriors, their damage could be like really instant, and they can just drop kick people, especially if they have good healing, where Doom takes a long time to interact. So your damage as Demonology is going to be always sort of mid-tier. And remember, Doom's double damage from the artifact, nerfed as for PvP. So overall, nerfed. We have the problem too with Demonology is that we have low healing compared to Affliction. So I use Mortal Coil in here to try to get some healing out of this spec. But unlike with Affliction, where okay, we put some dots on people and we're always getting corruption healing from our artifact, you know, there's a chance for that proc to get healing from that, and you have Siphon Soul if you want to go more healing. That's okay. The other spec, so this is a pretty cool spec regardless, and this is just one spec I wanted to show you. Let's show you the one other spec. It's sort of like the Zeus spec you can do. The reason why the Zeus spec doesn't work anymore is because our two major awesome demons, the major reason why you'd want to play Demonology is our two big demons have been nerfed. And so we don't want to play them. It makes it the class, the spec, unplayable. If we go to back to here, we change up a few little things. We're going to go with we'd go with Grimoire of Service. You could play Dark Glare or Soul Conduit, and you'd probably want to play Shadow Flame over Shadowy Inspiration. I like Shadowy Inspiration actually because you are power tripping so much. I think Hand of Doom is just too good to give up, and then you would play Power Trip. You could play Power Trip if you wanted to. Soul Harvest used to be even better. I think it used to give more damage, and then the problem is it's on the same tier as Hand of Doom, so you have to cast a lot of Dooms for Soul Harvest to be good, and I just don't like doing that. It's too much micromanagement to increase our damage by 20%, and 4 seconds up to a max of 36 seconds. So it lasts 12 seconds. Plus, we'd have to have a lot more targets have Doom on them. And since it's on the same tier of Hand of Doom, it seems like this was some kind of mistake as well that originally was different but has been swapped. And so you have to have a major sacrifice off. And the Hand of Doom is good because it gives us, every time Doom procs, it gives us a shard. So if in larger group fights, if you can stand back and somehow not get targeted, well, it'll be okay. And I'm trying to tell you about the BG spec that does the most damage. It was the first spec. This spec is an interesting spec. It's more advanced. It doesn't, you're going to again do probably lower damage than even the mid tier. This is bottom tier spec, I think, at this point. You'd actually use Call Fell Hunter so you get extra silence. And again, I don't think these other two are okay, but you'd probably use Call Observer just because it's a default big demon. If you think about it as a 1.5 minute cooldown, it only has a 20-second uptime, but it only does 5% damage. The damage it does is it's not enough damage. The spells and stuff, it just doesn't do enough damage. So you probably choose Master Summoner. Again, Master Summoner is okay, but it's not going to make you really good. So if we think about it, Demonology and its place compared to Affliction at this moment in time, Affliction has like Death's Embrace, 35%, 50% more damage on targets more than 35%. Massive, that's a huge thing, huge killing power that you have as Affliction. You have the ability to regenerate HP as Affliction through the Drained Soul. We miss a lot of cool things. Demonology is a cooler class to play. It's not as boring. It's more dynamic. The problem is it's just been nerfed so much that it doesn't make it viable. But we can still cast lots of demons, and that's the cool part about it. So now let me show you maybe a battleground or two of me playing as Demonology, and you can make your own judgment. We're going to play that first spec. I'll just go back over it. We're going to use Shadowy Inspiration. We could use Improved Dreadstalkers to summon 2 Wild Imps instead of Impending Doom. I want to choose Impending Doom because if Hand of Doom hits more than one target, it summons a lot more Imps. But Improved Dreadstalkers could be just as good. But Impending Doom is cool because we summon tons of Imps off our Hand of Doom. It synergizes pretty well. Use Grimoire of Synergy. I find that this is actually a really good talent. Grimoire of Synergy is a pretty good talent, and you don't have to micromanage as much with Grimoire of Service. We're going to use Doom Bolt because it's cool animation and it's pretty cool. The Mind Quickness is going to help us launch out the... You're not really going to have a shard problem with this spec either, I noticed. We use Pleasure with your Plane. We use Master Summoner. Let's take a look.